The December Visa Bulletin is out, finally, but unfortunately there's not much to be excited about. In fact, the waiting line has actually gotten worse for some visa categories. Let's take a closer look to see which ones, and then I'll talk to you about some alternatives that you have to get the green card faster. Hi everyone, Peter Bibler here at Bear & Co. We aim to provide you with the latest information about the EB-5 visa program and visa-related news. If you want to learn more, be sure to subscribe and follow us along as we help you navigate through the EB-5 visa process. Now, as the proverb goes, prediction is hazardous, especially about the future. And this is particularly true for USCIS processing times and the advancement of visa cutoff dates. For December, most visa preferences, especially EB-2, there were no such advances. And in fact, cutoff dates further retreated for India for EB-2. India moved from April 1st, 2012 to October 8th, 2011. That's nearly 6 months of retrogression. The State Department notes that they had higher demand for the EB-1 and EB-2 visas than previously expected and had to take corrective action. The mention here of EB-1 doesn't bode well for EB-1 applicants from India, and we may see retrogression in the near future. Another big development is that the rest of the world is now facing visa retrogression for EB-2. This year we've seen historic demand for EB-2 visas from other countries, and this demand leads to even fewer visas for Indian and Chinese EB-2 applicants who've traditionally faced backlogs in this category. Remember, each country is capped at 7.1% of the total green cards available in each visa preference. If other countries are not using their quota, then the countries with greater demand can use those green cards to prevent waste. But now that those countries are using more of their visa quotas, that's less spillover for countries with demand, such as China and India. Check out our video on how to read the Visa Bulletin to learn more about retrogression. There is some improvement for EB-3 for India. Final action dates have advanced about 2.5 months from April 1st, 2012 to June 15th, 2012. In the EB-5 visa category, we saw no change. In the unreserved EB-5 visa line, investors from India and China who filed I-526 petitions before the enactment of the EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act of 2022 face visa backlogs. We discussed this in greater detail in our video on the October Visa Bulletin, which is the first for fiscal year 2023. So I recommend watching that video to learn more about current and projected visa numbers for EB-5. The new reserve visa lines for EB-5 remain current, even for China and India. EB-5 investors that file new petitions post-Integrity Act may qualify for the new visa set-asides that reserve 32% of the annual 10,000 visa quota for those that invest $800,000 in rural, high unemployment urban, or infrastructure projects. Now, EB-2 is looking bleak to get a green card in the reasonable foreseeable future. For some, the lines are ridiculously long, and I recall a study from the Cato Institute a couple years ago that threw out crazy numbers like 150-year wait times. And as the COVID pandemic further recedes and American consulates get back into the business of reviewing applications and holding interviews, we can expect to see further rollover of unused family-based visas to mitigate these employment-based backlogs. The December Visa Bulletin notes that there were 57,000 unused family-based visas, so that the total estimated visas available for the employment-based categories this year is 197,000. That's already down 30% from last year. And numbers should normalize next fiscal year. But the EB-5 investor visa can be a potential option for folks caught up in the increasing backlogs for EB-2 and EB-3 green card. And many on H-1B, L-1, TN, E-2, and F-1 visas have been taking a closer look at the EB-5 visa. This is mostly because new investors can finally file their adjustment of status application at the same time. This enables those in the United States to get their EAD or work authorization in a matter of months. Having this option can be crucial for H-1B workers seeking an alternative from the EB-3 and EB-2 routes, especially those of you who might be caught up in the recent tech layoffs or who are simply looking to prepare a contingency plan. We discussed this crisis recently and some of the options that you might have, so be sure to check that video too. As always, if you have questions